This is Kitten Features, and you're listening to ShowX Live with Ken in his student accommodation all the way in Scotland, and Wade in his white windowless van? Uh-oh, I better get out of here. Enjoy the show!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to ShowX on VtWProductions.com. Welcome to the show, everybody. Today is the 13th of December, 2017. Or, wow, I was going to say 2019. Sorry, everybody, we are not joined by Ken today. He is off, I would normally say gallivanting, but not today. Today, he has some solid work he needs to be doing to help support his critters, the Doges. One of them needed to go be seen at the vet, and so he is off taking care of that today. I will say right off the bat, a happy birthday to our good friend GoHex Ken, as his birthday was yesterday, and he was enjoying and celebrating that. So hopefully that's going well. All right, so, as I'm seeing in here, it looks as though the chat that I have set up on this window, because I was trying to make things better so you can see my big lovely face when it's all me, is not coming through how I'd hoped. So let me see if I can fix that real quick. Let's see. Let's get you. No, that's... Because I feel like you guys need to be able to see yourselves. So as I'm doing that, maybe what I'll do is I'll switch back to the normal... See, all of this says like it should be happy. Do I just not have it coming in from the right place? Good question. I want a chat box. And I want it to be from here. Yes. Yes. Huh. You're not showing up, chat box. Interesting. Ah, well, let's see. That, I will go back, and at least for now, I will switch over to the 2D so we can see what you got, or the regular show one. Boom. And hopefully your guys' chats will come through here and we will see everything fine. What? It is broke. I wonder if this is when Ken was messing with things. I blame him. Because essentially what happened is he was working on, if you had seen recently, and hopefully guys you've been paying attention, we've been playing with getting the look and feel of the show all the much better. And so hopefully that is making sense and you guys are... happy with what we've been doing. So let's see. So when that he was setting up his own streams, and so if you watched while he was celebrating his birthday, he also was doing some things with Kitten Features on his show, and we had been playing back and forth to see where the best place to share that information was. And initially he was using the VtWShowX Twitch page to do his piece. But he kept messing around with things, and in doing so, maybe had broken the original, or the chat that we've been using. And so, let me see again if I can fix all that. Chat source, chat source, chat source. Got all you guys. Yes, this one. I have to do as a new one? I don't know. Let's see. So, yeah, trying to figure this out, and we'll see what I come up with. Doesn't say, okay. So real quick. Huh. Yep. Interesting. It is not letting me do that. So the weird part is the intro pre-show, the chat was showing up just fine. And here, it is having issues. But I don't know, so... How does the chat box work there? That's not working here. Copy that. Come over to mine. Paste it here. Oh, weird. That was not what I was expecting. Huh. Oh, that was a different link. Anyhow, so I may be without chat at the moment. Yes, and that's the funny part, Tabby. I've definitely tried to unplug it, plug it back in. I don't know why it's doing all that. Oh, well. And I know I'd figured out I had other chat sources I could grab it, but I don't think I was using any of those. So we will see. I will just continue on, and we may just unfortunately not have the chat working today, which makes me sad. Because we've had it in the past and it worked great. Now it is doing bad things. Anyhow, so we'll play with that in the future. Anyhow, anybody, so that sucks. All right, we will continue on and deal with my lovely face. So, Ken, like I said, is off and hopefully making sure his doges are in the best shape they can be. He just celebrated a birthday, and so he was streaming things yesterday. You can probably go check it out on his channel for that to see. He would play, I forget which game he was playing. It was a rhythm adventure game where he and Kitten Features are going back and forth to see who could do the best for points, and each time one of them, whoever failed between each level, the other one, or the failed person, had to go and take drinks so they could continue to, what do I want to say, make the environment a little more liquid, a little more fluid. They started with the adventure game. They went on to, through I think Hendo and my support, to choose to play some, oh, what is the name of that game, Hando? It's the cat one, because Kitten said, oh, cats, therefore must. And I know I have it. Cat lateral damage. They played some of that as well, to see who was best cat, which, oddly enough, it seems like Ken was, which seems really odd, because Kitten Features is cat, but Ken did quite well. So, that kicked in, and even though the chat's not coming on the screen, I'm still monitoring it, so feel free to chat through, and I will talk to you guys about it. So they played that. Like I said, go back and see his last show, and you'll be able to catch out all the shenanigans they had. All right, so I will go ahead and, on my own, get here, and let's talk a little bit of
Dysfunctional Deviations
and what I have been doing in this last week. So I forget, in all of my excitement the last time I was on the show, since I wasn't here last week, if I had talked about the previous week, all the shenanigans I'd done. The main ones I forgot to see if I had mentioned, so please correct me if I have, was that I went and saw 2 concerts last week, or 2 weeks ago now, leading into things that I swear I just totally forgot. And it was ones that people were, when I mentioned or posted that I was going, seemed to show a lot of excitement, like they wished they had been attending as well. So the 2 concerts I went to, first one on the Friday night a couple weeks back was the band from Japan, Baby Metal. And like I said, I know I've talked about it, but I've talked to a lot of people. I don't think I shared it on the show, though. Also, yes, Tabby, because of this show, because I am doing this solo, you are welcome to dial in if you'd really like, and we could probably make this a dual show at that point. Let me make sure I have everything up for that. But, so I went and saw the band Baby Metal, a metal rock band from Japan. They had an opening band from them called Avatar, which I had never heard of before, that I believe came out of Sweden, another metal band that was as circusy metal as you could hope to ever experience. As I've talked about, the lead singer seemed to embrace what I would say people from other countries believe the caricature of metal is, and was like over the top with how the performance went for what they were doing with hair whips and big stage makeup and things like that. Loud, beautiful, wonderful in this tiny little venue. Went with our friend, let's see, I'm trying to remember her cosplay name. Oh, crud. Forget off the top of my head. I should prepare more for these things. My friend Amy, though, she, who's been on the show and we've talked, invited me out to both this concert and another because she didn't want to go alone, and I am always down for going to shows. And so we went, checked it out, and it was in this tiny little venue in middle of Denver called, I want to say we went to, it was either Ogden or Fillmore. I forget which. There's like 3 venues right along the same drive on Colfax here in Denver. They're all really small venues. And I forget which one of the 2 we went to this time, but maybe it was a Fillmore. And in there, it was enough so there's little balconies up above that I went to. It's the same venue I went and saw Black Tiger Sex Machine in with a couple friends a few months back. And so it's really kind of an intimate venue. But we got up there, found a friend of mine from the Springs and a group of his, and we were hanging out up on one of the balconies looking down. And they just put on such an amazing show. It's funny because Avatar seemed right about that smaller venue, whereas when Baby Metal came out, they just were killing it, and you could tell that Baby Metal is used to shoot like throwing out in Japan. I know they do massive venues, and their stage is kind of normally set up for these really big, not just a little venue, but these big almost stadium type shows. And so it was interesting seeing them kind of reduced down to that just local small venue view and watching them perform. And it was great though, because where Avatar just had this whole kind of wild metal extravaganza they were doing, mostly just them on stage kind of singing, dancing, and parading about as they played their songs, Baby Metal had, as I would interpret, a very Japanese pop type of performance where everything was very scripted and it was timed down to the moment in every song for their dance moves and how they were presenting everything. And it's an interesting group because they have the musicians in the back who are dressed masks and such, so you don't see their identity. And then they have the three gals that are at the front, where one of them is the actual singer and the other two are essentially backup/dancers. And so it's fun to watch as the main dancers would go back and forth doing all their really excited movements in perfect timing, because they'd show some B-roll video from previous performances on the screen behind them and they were perfectly synced to it. And then you could tell where the lead singer gave her an opportunity to take a moment and just sing, and then at the right moment she would jump in and do just like pieces of the dance. And so they did this whole performance that was probably, just over an hour on theirs, where they knocked off all of their favorite hits, all the big songs, even stuff I'd recognized, and just like performance right out the bat and really well done. And then when they were done, they were done. It just kind of ended, lights came on, and they were out. And so, yeah, to me, a very, like I said, Japanese style experience, but a really great show. The other one I went to that others seem to be aware of, and I had never heard of the band before, was headlined down in the Springs in another even tinier venue, one of these kind of side where it just has enough for a bar, a flat floor, and a stage in the corner. But that was the group Mystery Skulls, and that's one that I'm not sure if you guys have heard of, if you know what Mystery Skulls is, but they were one that it was phenomenal. I only know of them from Amy telling me that they had gotten famous from, what was it? An AMV or something she had seen where it was for one of the games/anime she loves. Was it Ace Attorney? That series that someone had done an AMV with it and used Mystery Skulls music behind it. And apparently I think the DJ has made some other things, but it's one that a lot of people know about. And so I had the opportunity. We just kind of showed up. Tiny, I won't even say, like, not even half of the venue was filled. It was so small. And they had opening bands. I need to go back and look at who they all were, because there was this gal who started at the very beginning who was pleasant to watch in the sense that it was interesting. She just had kind of on their computer the backup music and stuff. She'd hit it and then she'd start singing, which was fun. And then, and so she was entertaining and everything. And then the next band came on. Let's see. Oh gosh, I need to go back and find the names of them so I can do them justice. Because the next band that came on was two people, two guys, one on the drums, and lead guy was basically playing keyboard, mixing, singing, and guitar, kind of depending on what song it was. Where the guy on the drums, I want to say his name was Tom, because I think it was Dan and Tom, and was just rocking on the drums. And it's funny because he looked like kind of what I would expect a frat guy drummer to look like, just kind of this chill dude sitting there, hat on backwards, kind of like, hey everybody, and just playing away on the drums. But it was funny because this venue is so tiny, the audience is like right there, almost on the stage with the performers, and they came and it was kind of this folky, laid-back sound to the way that the other one did. Okay, I've got to look them up because it was a good concert. I want to be able to give them, like I said, proper dues for who was with them at this tour. Shows. Let's see. These are all the upcoming. Can I go to the last ones? I want to see what the last shows were. Maybe this new one will show what their bands with them are. Because I think they're touring together. They said they're all friends. And they actually did several songs together. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So the gal went under the name of Snowblood. And then the two gentlemen went as the Phangs, Phangs, and you can check out their music, and the Mystery Skulls. And so, like I said, Snowblood was fun enough. Phangs, the lead guy was such a, what I would say, kind of like laid back, hippie sounding dude to me, like a surfer out of California, and kind of shy even as he got on there and started talking about things, because he'd get in there and he's just like, hey guys, yeah, you guys are all crazy. Wow. Just because of how active the whole audience was and how much they're yelling things at him and interacting with the songs, that he kind of stopped and go, whoa, man, nah, you guys are nuts. And then he'd go into the song, and he had this kind of high-pitched, folky sound to the way he was singing. It was really good. So it was fun to listen to him the whole time through. And they had this crazy back and forth where the drummer Tom was just sitting there again, just drumming, kind of doing his thing. But the audience just would keep screaming out Tom in between songs, stuff like that, like, Tom, 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 which again would get the lead singer to just go like, whoa, what are you guys doing? And just in its own way, surprisingly entertaining. And so that happened, went on, and then finally Mystery Skulls comes on, which I had no idea what was. Basically a single individual who's a DJ mixing it up with his own songs and things up there, where he got up there with turntables and everything, a lot of smoke coming up behind him so you couldn't really see his face, and lights going, and just kicking some amazing dance songs and things like that. And so I got to dance the night away on a odd Wednesday night to all this music and suffer myself at work the next day, but was good times had by me, if not all. So yeah, I wanted to throw those out there. And if you haven't heard them, check them out. I was really impressed. All right, continuing on. So I wanted to throw that one out. The other one I had was I have a note in here to talk about iced tea, but I don't know if that's really something I need to worry about. Basically, my parents, one of the things I acquired from them was an iced tea maker, and I made some, and it was good. So, yay. I don't need to talk about that one. All right, more recently, the whole reason I wasn't here this last show, and that you got to watch, I believe, Ken do some gaming, as he told me he was going to do instead, it's because I was out working. I decided to go and play with a photo shoot again. And in doing so, let's see, it's funny, I'm going to keep trying to throw something on here while I do this, but we will see if it actually works. And, anyhow, and so I was out and had the opportunity where a friend of a friend from work, one of my good friends, had suggested myself to help her out with her wedding that was coming up, and so I learned of this probably 6 months ago or more. And she got married at a beautiful venue down here southwest of Denver at Arrowhead Golf Course. And it's something I've actually played there a couple times. Would normally be expensive golf course. It's right there in the Flatirons, where rocks jutting out in all directions and things like that. So super pretty. And so I had the opportunity to actually sit down and do some photography again. It's been a little while since I've really done some higher level photography. So got things together. I had a while back my main camera repaired, things like that. But it's all sorted and together. Went up, grabbed another friend of mine to come down and be a second photographer for me, to give her an opportunity to shoot a wedding without the fear of having to get all those shots and be the main photographer. So I paid for her to do a slight side photographer to get some things. But we showed up and spent most of the day down on this golf course to get all sorted. On the way out there, in fact, it's fun. I was almost able to do the show, but I didn't want to rush in a way that I would have had to leave halfway just to get out to the golf course, because I wanted to make sure I provided the best effort I could for this wedding, because weddings are such a big deal and people spend so much money on them. I really wanted to give it my best. But on our way out, we made sure to grab some food, which took us forever to find a place to actually grab a bite to sit down and eat, mostly because I may have forgotten, as I do with the show every week, that we tape this or we air this on Sundays. And go figure, the rest of humanity on Sundays likes to, go out and eat and do things when they're celebrating their time at church and things like that. And so I maybe had forgotten that normal people do that. And so as we were going out and trying to find various places, anywhere to eat, it just was kind of like, oh snap, everywhere is busy. What do I do? And so I maybe missed out on some of that where we didn't quite, it took me a while to find a place that wasn't just packed, which was a challenge. But anyhow, eventually did, and this was good. But, so came out, did that, got continued on and stopped by a friend of mine's tea shop, a gal who had opened up a boba tea shop a few, years back now, that I had known from the car scene. She was one of the models that actually worked on one of the events I had hosted way back when. And so she came in and went and saw her. They're having their last car meet of the year. So being a car gal and her husband owning a shop where they build out race cars and such, she hosts events every Sunday during the year where they get together and a whole bunch of neat cars show up. I actually wanted to throw, and I think I got an image, as I don't know where I put my phone, oddly enough. Weird. Oh, well, I guess it's out somewhere in the house. I had a picture of what was it? They had a surprising number of old 300ZXs that showed up that were super clean. They had one Ferrari 360, several GTRs, both R32 and several R35s. Some tiny little, Toyota Dio or something like that. Tiny little two-seater Toyotas that were smaller than a Del Sol, than a Honda Del Sol, or than my Miata or anything like that. Really tiny box ones. They almost looked like they were little Daewoo's or something. And just a bunch of things like that. But for the sense of you, Kuro, since you're in here listening, they had someone brought out one of the cleanest 80s Supras I had ever seen. That had a turbo that was about the size of the engine in it. And I know I took a picture of it. That's why I was looking for my phone, because I wanted to make sure I could send it to you so that you'd have a reference to see it and be like, oh, snap. And so, yeah, that was really neat to see. Just all of these really cool cars that they brought out. So did that. I kind of got a little bit of that on just to psych myself up before going to the wedding and everything. So lots of little things to lead out to this. Then went out to Arrowhead, got there a good hour or so before any of the guests showed up, so I could get some pre-shots around everything and kind of get a layout for such. And shout out to my brother Earthweaver, because I finally got to utilize some of the tools he had given me to good effect. And when I did, I went and grabbed, what was it? I grabbed a couple of my stands from Static Lights I have and put my flashes on it, because I'd just been watching this series that videos from the site Creative Live. For anyone who is wanting to learn anything about artisticness, especially photography, check out Creative Live. They have a bunch of classes you can pay for on there. It's not cheap. You buy classes, but you can look for sales and stuff to get access to some. But there was a gal who did a 30 days of wedding photography series talking about all kinds of elements. And one of the things that caught me that I'd always struggled with was shooting with my flashes during a wedding, because I normally shoot just direct sunlight, whatever's available. I love natural light. And so I haven't really focused or learned how to properly shoot with flashes outside of just having one on my camera body. And this wedding took place at a time where it was just, the sun was already starting to set. I think the ceremony itself started at 5 o'clock. And because it was right up butted against the foothills, the sun was already approaching the edge of the mountains just as the ceremony started. Challenge that as well is where they do the ceremony, a beautiful looking thing over, I believe, hole 10 in the golf course, which is just this fairway that goes down away from the clubhouse and the rocks all around. So really gorgeous view. But the way you set up with the wedding and the bride and groom are facing each other, the bride's face was just facing directly into the sun the entire wedding ceremony, and the groom looking to the shade. So there was a challenge in capturing both of them because of that difference in lighting. And I did not have my flashes set up for that shoot, and I wasn't ready for that piece of it to try to do fill light or anything. I don't know how that would have worked. I was able to make it manage well. It's just a challenge throughout it. But when we continued off from the actual ceremony piece into the reception is where those flashes really managed out. Also got the chance, because of that, the golf course, whenever you book the Arrowhead, lets you go out onto the course to a couple of the holes. There's one that has a pond all around, kind of where one of the ladies' tee box is. And so a lot of people go out there and kind of stand to the edge, and you have water reflection, really pretty area right in the middle of everything. So I went out there as the guests went up to the cocktail hour and such, and I left my friend shooting, Zoe, to go do all of that. Things like those. Let's see. Let's see. And we will see if I can pull this in at the same time. See if this works for us. Hello? Hey there, sir. Nice voice as we come through. Let's see if I have everything set up that... Oh, look. You do come through, although I have to adjust for you since normally I grab Ken on this one. Grab your view. Oh, no, it's just, yeah, in my view, it has you coming up funny. Oh, I grabbed the wrong one. That's why. No, you're fine. I just had to get things sorted on the way my screen should be. So you're actually fine, sir. You can put it right back where it needed to be. So, it is all good. There we go. I get you lined up here. Sweet. Oh, no. Ken, come on now, Tap. Ken doesn't even have an accent anymore, as long as he's been doing the show with us. So, not a worry, not a thing. Oh, wait. How do I not have your audio coming through the right place? It's saying... Okay, let's go here. All right, chat for us again.
Oh, yes, I'm live here in Portland, Oregon.
There we go. I fixed it. I had to make sure I hit the right button. You guys stop it with me and the broken cats. I got this. So, but yeah, no. So got to go down and do all that in the reception, coming up to it when the lights got low. Now it was in this tent that was outside overlooking the driving range. Really pretty there, but really dim lights. And so I fortunately set up those flashes with remote triggers, thanks to my brother. And in doing so, I think was able to capture the shots I really wanted. So had a good time shooting the wedding, but that's why I wasn't here last week. So, sorry y'all. All right, let's see. Make sure I got all that going. I swear I have a better way of doing this, but it's not coming through. Oh well. Oh well. So, Tabby, how you doing?
I'm doing just fine here. You know, the advent of life, especially now that I've been working with what I could with Inktober, trying to improve my artistic ability. And a friend of ours, Keith from the Indie Podcast, his daughter got married on Friday.
Oh, wow.
So he is in the next step of soon to be. It's a bet between him or me becoming a grandfather first. So I think he just took the lead, and that's fine with me.
Saying you're not in any rush.
No, I am not in any rush. My kids are in the same way. So we had a game night last night. We did some Jackbox here with a bunch of friends, and then we played a little bit of Secret Hitler, which is just, I swear my whole neighborhood thinks I'm really bad. Because we get very loud with that game. But it's a fun game. And then, of course, we played Baldur's Gate, which is House on the Haunted Hill, but kind of a D&D version of it.
It's the one that only has a dungeon and the main floor. It doesn't have an upstairs, correct?
Correct. It's actually dungeon, street. Oh, no. It's streets, buildings, and catacombs. It
gotcha.
Runs. So, again, phenomenal game. We had a lot of fun doing that. And, you know, I've been focusing on all those kind of fun little things. So hopefully I can get back my art here. There's a lot of Inktober's I need to catch up because as soon as the Inktober got going, I broke my tablet. So
what?
I had to rebuild my tablet. Yep.
Oh, no. Like, just broke in the sense of just somewhere software glitch or done something like that? Or?
Software glitch, yeah. It just wigged out. It wouldn't restart. I was on the road, so I had to wait until I got back to an actual computer, plug it in, do a factory reset. And, of course, the factory resets into Chinese. Oh. So I had to remember all my Mandarin Chinese symbols to get to the right one to reset to the English version. So
I wonder, actually, that'd be an opportunity, and I'm not advocating you do this moment, but I believe most new smartphones have an ability to do like visual Chinese or visual character translation. Because I know it works with Japanese and like French, Italian, Spanish, things like that. I don't know if Mandarin is one of the ones that has been captured. It seems like it would, since it's the biggest market out there. And so I wonder if that would help, because I have run into that before, where you get some level of technology that, you know, is usually less expensive. But in doing so, right, when you go to set it up, you're like, oh, look, that's not English. Huh. Which button means what? You know, and it goes back to almost for me, a lot of, like, the basic one is a menu system, whatever it is you do accept versus cancel. And how, for me, at least I know in Japan, so I wouldn't be surprised if in China it's similar, they tend to reverse from what we are used to seeing, which side of a button you say yes to. Go figure, read different directions, things like that. It kind of makes sense that you're okay or accept or yes or whatever is on the other side from what we do. And so I've gotten in so many challenges. It's almost like whenever you play an emulated or an imported game, that same thing where all their menus are in a different language and you're trying to navigate it like, it should be this many down for whatever action. Something like that, that I have never been able to successfully manage. I think Copy and I ran into that way back when on original PSO servers or something like that before any of the English like modification had been done and things just to try to make games work. So, oh, that's funny. No, I'm imagining the situation with that. And so tablet meaning just more like your own portable device that you normally draw on?
Yeah, I just basically, it's a Tab 4. I've had it for years, but it has Adobe Sketchbook Pro on it, which is a free program. Phenomenal program. It's for what you can do with it. It has great layering, great shading, multiple tools, and it's free. So I'll give Adobe that. It's one of their products that you can get for free and without having to pay an arm and a leg for. But it does really well, especially for if you're a beginner to a medium style for artists for your work. It's a great starter. It's not like Photoshop where you're just overloaded with a ton of stuff. Now, Roxy picked up the new X Pen 22E, which I've been looking at, which is a digital tablet that you hook to a computer, has a screen on it, so you can draw directly on it. Now, my daughter just picked up for her birthday. I got her the smaller 18 and for digital arting. So we'll see how that goes. I've been wanting to get one, but I'm going to let my daughter play with the 18 version. I'm going to see what Roxy can create with the 22E because I'm really excited to see that kind of work. But I might take my art into the next step into that process, and we'll see how it goes. But it's really good. I mean, the X Pen, when it comes to tablets for artists, it's a good compromise to what Wacom is trying to put out there for half the cost.
Oh, nice.
You know, Wacom's just $600-800 for some of their tablets that are screen-based. These are under $400, and you really can't beat it for the quality.
Nice. No, I have friends who like to use Wacom tablets to do all their art and things like that. And it's funny because when I've gone to a couple conventions, have you ever been to one where Wacom shows up and actually brings all this stuff?
Every Comic-Con.
Nice, right? Because that's the worst tease in the world because they have those 20+ inch direct on draw tablets and such that are where you see everything and all the beautiful pressure and super fast and everything like that. It's just like, man. Oi, that would be nice, right?
Oh, it would be absolutely if you have $1,200. I mean, but what do you do? I mean, they are the high end of the tablet market when it comes to this kind of digital art. I like how X-Pen is actually moving that trend upward for a little less expensive, but still get the quality. And the only downside to X-Pen is they don't come with a drawing software. You still have to pick that up.
Gotcha.
And again, you can just get the Adobe Sketchbook Pro, works great with it. Luckily, I already have Photoshop 7 that I use on a lot of my stuff, so I'm still in the 7 market, and it works amazing connected to that. I was really impressed.
Nice. So, and I had to clarify because I was thinking tablet stuff, and I have a friend who's recently been asking me for information about a tablet they could pick up for kind of a, inexpensive but capable to do somewhat a laptop replacement thing. So initially I was thinking more like, actual full-on tablet, not just drawing tablet, things like that. And so I was trying to compare between what kind of options out there. But, and I do not know tablets for anything because I don't use any. But trying to do that knowledge for something. Anyhow. All right. So thank you for joining me today, Tabby. Glad to have you here. Finishing up what little bits I had been doing or things I was going to talk about that aren't as geek-related this morning. Yes, as the light is playing back and forth behind. The challenges of setting up. You say, this is why most people don't stream in the middle of the day, right?
Yeah.
Because
I have a beautiful view out my back window. I usually have it open, so I'm gaming out that way. So I know I need to change things up a little bit, but get around to actually doing that kind of work. It interrupts my game time, and I don't like that.
Let's say, speaking of that kind of work, so all right, two things that we had recently. One, what was this? Wednesday or Thursday? Thursday, I believe it was. This week, we suddenly had Colorado decided it was time to no longer be fall. Or at least to give us a quick preview of what was coming for winter. And so we went in a changeover of temp from the day before being 83 degrees to that following day having a low of 19 degrees.
Yes, they went for a 70-something degree temp the second biggest temperature inversion within 24 hours in like since 1893.
Yeah, and this was one of the records for us here. It was ridiculous. But thankfully ready for it because got to work and it was like already cold in the morning. It was like, oh, I thought it was supposed to be snowing. And then during the day at work, it snowed all day. And it's funny because they let a lot of the people that, live further away, they're like, you may want to leave now. Although by the time I got out there, the snow had stopped and it was fine. But so we had that happen recently here. And so now leaves are all falling off trees and things like that. So it is definitely the end of fall, or it feels that way, because temperature took a dive and has been sitting much cooler now. I had to go in there and set the Nest to turn on my heat again and kind of readjust everything so I'm not freezing every day. Where normally, like during the show, I had it every show prior, my air conditioning would come on an hour before the show to kind of keep the office nice and cool, so I could talk for 2 hours in here, especially with this massive heat thing of a monitor I have next to me. But then now I've had to go the opposite and say, oh, before the show, turn the heat down even further so it can cool it off. Since this thing, since when I do the show, it heats up everything in here significantly more. Anyhow, had that happen, so it's now like cold out, and I'm having to get ready to change out to the winter tires on the Miata and, things like that. And yeah, how's it out there in your neck of the woods?
Global warming. That's what it is out here. I'll tell you. Oh, no, climate change. See, I'm stuck in the past. Portland, actually, Oregon has been phenomenal. We've been weather-wise for our events. We didn't really hit hardly any 90s this year. No hundreds. The temperature's we're already back in the 60s with the lows in the 30s and 40s. Snow's already in the mountains. We're looking at a gorgeous winter, and we've been this way for like 6 years, where it snows in the mountains, doesn't snow in the valley. We hardly had any hard summers. This year we loved it because we had no fires. We had a couple of fires in the southern end of the state, and that was it.
Nice.
But, in that ways, we like it. We like Portland. It's a great gaming community. See, those who want to move to Portland, we'd love to have you here. It's a great, great gaming place to be because the weather is phenomenal to game. You can game outdoors, indoors. It doesn't matter. So we're happy to have you.
Yeah, I do need to get out there at some point. That's one of those things that I've still not accomplished, and I feel so bad about that.
Check out in March. We're looking at the Exploding Kittens Con. They're doing this big concert and convention.
They have their own con now.
It's a big get together they're doing here because one of their offices is here in Portland. So they're doing it's like March. Oh, I wish Roxy was on. We got the email went out to everyone who did their Kickstarters, but they have this like end of March sometime. I'll have to get the details. But yeah, it's like this big concert and this con get together at the convention center. So yeah, it's basically an Exploding Kittens Con, and I'm thoroughly excited because Rose City Comic Con was just a few weeks ago and it was phenomenal. Wizard World's down the line. I recommend never go to Wizard World cons ever. They are terrible. They are absolutely horrid for you to go to, especially if it's a first time con for you. Do not attend those. They'll give you a negative outlook on a con.
Gotcha.
But Rose City in this is going to be good. It's new. It's Exploding Kittens, so we're going to see what the oatmeal does with this. I'm really excited. I like to see this new kind of stuff pop up, especially in the world. One thing I'd love to talk about is the dice community. One thing I noticed at Rose City Comic Con was how many booths there were for custom-made dice for D&D.
Really?
There's like a dozen of them. Yeah, and I was looking at a couple of them that had Egyptian stone and all these other rare stones. But it felt so good in my hand. I was like, oh, how much is it? $120. Yeah, I can sacrifice some food for that. No problem.
Oh my!
But yeah, it's a big community out here, and Portland's become a huge community for the D&D scene. We have just game shops are constantly having D&D sessions between Red Castle, Things from Another World. I Like Comics. They have great Rune. I have to say Rune and Board here in Hillsborough. Great little game shop for all that. But again, it's a great community, and you're seeing the rise of D&D out here. So again, weather is always great. But the community that makes it doesn't matter what the weather is. It's always nice with a good community.
Okay, that's good to hear. No, that is always wonderful. So very good to hear. Very nice. No, I need to get out there. I keep hearing from others like Fork and people like that are saying like, "Hey, Wayne, you're missing opportunity. You need to get there." I do. Yep. I know that I do, and so eventually.
Campo had a good birthday here. I like that.
Nice. Yeah. See, there's so many people that have already done it, and I have not.
Do it. Do it.
So, cool. All right. Unfortunately, I was trying, and people who see that in there with the Streamlabs thing, trying to get in there the link to my Twitch chat, as I'm also trying to fix that as we go. So I will continue to work on that piece. Anyhow, so other things around the house, just little things to get rid of my geek or non-geekiness to finish out for me.
All right.
So been trying to maintain and do things in the house. Part of that is cleaning and such. I continue to do this extended late spring cleaning, as I've been trying to get a hold of my house more. So I just yesterday had my carpets cleaned, but in doing so, it meant I had to get all of my furniture out of the way. And I no longer have any roommates or anyone with me. So moving couches and end tables or coffee tables and things like that off the rugs was a bit of a challenge for myself. But was able to get it all cleaned up and sorted and then get everything shampooed and cleaned. And admittedly, because pets, they make it harder. And specifically my cats have made it harder. So I'm trying to encourage them to be better about things, to maintain my house. The magic of what you find with a blacklight, just to say. But
oh, no, let's not go there. Guardians of the Galaxy memories, that's bad.
Yeah, so anyhow, doing some good cleaning in the house, and I still have things kind of all up in arms, but got that taken care of, and then ran out, and yesterday got to go to a friend's house. They were opening up, they had just installed a new fire pit, and wanted people to come over and help sort it out and say hi and celebrate that. So to do so, and it's really cool. Friends of mine, and thanks to Heidi and Magnus for hosting everyone yesterday. But we got together, and it's great because Heidi works for a company that does construction, and in doing so, got hold of this massive, is several feet wide, kind of pipe coupler thing, or it's something she described as a piece of pipe that's meant to go into cement or be buried, and have full pipes actually fit through them. So it's kind of a sleeve or a guide for big pipes, but it essentially translates to about a half-inch thick steel in the way this pipe's built. Yeah, this ring of this pipe. And so she used that and buried it in the ground a few feet deep. And so that became her fire site. Put some gravel at the bottom and then just built the fire in there. And it was awesome because having a big metal ring like that, it actually redirected and moved the heat really well, radiated the heat really well. And so where a lot of fires I get around, you're fighting the smoke for one, but you're just lucky to get close enough to actually feel warmth. This thing was just rocking. It was like an oven outdoors where I just sat there and enjoying the heck out of it. So went out there, got to meet new people and interact with other friends I know, drink well. I shared a beautiful bottle of port that was a ruby port that everyone enjoyed, and got to stay up late and share stories and such, so did that yesterday. Anyhow, that's what I've been doing. That hasn't been geeking the last couple of weeks, catching people up. Anything for your Tab that you've been doing as such before I transition into more geek-related talk?
No, let's get into the geek.
Alrighty then. Well, with that, let's go ahead and do a little bit of
I'm a geek. Are you a geek? Geek Cred, level up!
And so, with the Geek Cred this week, I didn't have a whole lot I wanted to bring in, other than I did say something on Netflix that just caught my eye. It was kind of an odd one. I mostly watched in the background, but it was a show called Sound and Fury. That is,
I saw it.
Yeah, animated kind of movie that is reminiscent of me, and not in the sense of content, but just the way it was music and animation together, like the old heavy metal stuff like that, where it really had I don't believe it had any actual words in it at all. It was just animation with music and telling kind of a story through that, which is interesting. Now, I admit it wasn't amazing, but it was interesting for what I saw, because I was just kind of flipping through looking for something to crush, because I've been watching so many of the series that have been coming on recently. Things like, Crushed the Dark Crystal series when it came out and things like that. All these newer ones I've been hitting. And so that was one that just popped up at my feed, and I was like, what, an hour or something? Yeah, let me kick it on. And watched it real quick. And so it was interesting. It was interesting. I want to say worth watching, but don't go into it like, oh my God, this is going to be the next epic heavy metal type thing. It was just, I was expecting to have them actually words and stuff coming through, and it was just continued action and music. I was like, oh, okay, interesting. And I'm trying to remember how violent it was. It was all right. It wasn't crazy. Anyhow, actual gaming news and stuff and things I've been doing. Hopefully people have caught that I've been trying to stream a little more on the ShowX channel to make sure that we keep our affiliate thing going, since we are now affiliates in ShowX here. So hopefully we will keep continuing to grow that up to maybe make all the things you guys want with, like, I don't know, maybe custom emotes and stuff like that. I have to go through the rest of the process that I saw. There's a whole new tab that opened up of things you have to fill out to truly embrace your affiliate status. So I just saw that today as I was clicking through looking for things, and so I need to still go do that. So hopefully after the show I'll figure the rest of that out. But still working on those things. So to keep up the streaming, I went and started playing. Like Ken and I have done some League of Legends. My brother and I have done some League of Legends. But I wanted to do something a little different the other day. So I actually went and reworked and got my VR rig together again. And I decided to stream a little bit of... It started out just to test to make sure I caught it right. Lucky's Tale. Because anyone who hasn't played that, do. And I think they finally... And correct me if I'm wrong, I think Lucky's Tale finally became available for non-VR, just as a console game? Like a 3D console?
I didn't check I saw it on the VR, but I haven't seen if it was non-VR yet.
Yeah, I think they finally went where it is no longer... Let's see, Oculus, but I want to say they actually were releasing it where you didn't have to have VR. So,
okay.
Not sure if that has hit the case, because I have it in VR. And I think it really works in VR well. So I played some of that. Actually made it a lot further in the game than I ever had before. It seems like whenever I've done something where I've had to rebuild the computer or gone without playing for some level of time, and the Oculus Store updates or something like that, I come back to Lucky's Tale and it's like I've never played it. And I'm just like, damn it! And I don't know if that's a problem that any of you have ever run into. Like, Tabby, have you ever run into a game that you just hadn't played for a while? And you come back and you're like, oh, cool, where was I? Pick up, and it's like you never played it. There's no saved game. There's nothing there.
Yeah, that's Steam. That's the downside of Steam, because you're gonna have all these games, a lot installed. You're gonna come across one day like, hey, I haven't played this in a while, and you get in there, you're completely lost. And I saw that also another big one, Civilization. When I jump into a saved game, it's like, what was I doing? Why did I do that? Oh my god, well, I'm an idiot. And just start a new game, which you're only gonna get about halfway through. Running out of time because it's 3 o'clock in the morning. You got to work at 6, so you're going to save it. Only for a couple of months down the line, you're going to jump into that save game. What was I doing here? And the whole process starts over.
Well, so there's that one piece, because have you seen the meme that came up recently just about that, where people said like they wanted to add a mode to games called the I'm an adult with a life mode, and that when it comes, that, and I actually heard that one and was thinking, holy crap, that is actually brilliant. To come back and be able to say that if I haven't played this game for, or whenever you haven't played it for some length of time, it pop up a little thing and saying, would you like a refresher on what you've been doing? And in doing so, clicking yes, it would give you some little up to the moment what the story was and where you are now from where you started, just a quick synopsis of what the story's been, as well as a quick, almost like the tutorial again, refresher of what your controls are. Because I know that's another big issue for me, right? Is that you'll come and you play different games, you come back to one that you haven't played for 6 months, and you're like, how do I do the thing? Or which, and you start playing, you're like, nope, forgot all of that. And so,
and I'd like my narration to be done by Morgan Freeman, please.
Oh gosh,
so
always.
I really get into it.
Always. Well, that's just what was it? On... Is it Siri or Alexa? One of the, I think the Amazon whatever, voice thing out there, the little helpers. They just recently announced that Samuel L. Jackson is doing an entire voice pack for.
Yes, and I think it was Alexa.
That would make sense.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was Alexa. Yeah, he's doing a voice package you can purchase. But I'm just thinking, man, that's just a bunch of profanity-laced things saying how worthless you are or something?
So apparently they're saying that you can do essentially both a mature or not mature selection for it. That you have the opportunity to actually do it where you can have him basically cursing you out. Or
what's the point?
I don't know. Well, I mean, it's your home assistant, right? Maybe it's just that...
Well, what's the point of having him when you just can't hear him drop the F-bomb in the most glorious way that he does? I mean, why have the non-mature version of Samuel L. Jackson? That just doesn't seem right.
So you're right. That piece to me makes no sense. For me, as far as I'm considered, if you are doing any of that, it seems silly that you would ever not have the mature one on. That just seems dumb. Like, yes, you would do that constantly. So that is funny to me, but yeah.
Now, I like that he's doing it, and that opens the way for other people that probably could do it. Because, like I said, Morgan Freeman on any device like that, I'm so into it. Sam Elliott's another one. I would absolutely love to have Sam Elliott as my navigational guide. It wouldn't bother me one bit. I think I'd love that voice.
That would be fun. Yes, I agree. So I like the idea. I'll be very curious to see if people do it and what comes out of it, because I think that'd be amazing. So
go, people, go, go, go. See, you had a great idea, folks. Just run with it. See what you can make of it. Because I know there are, like, if you're a B-list or a celebrity, I know there's little celebrity things you can have them do for you for like $300. And they'll do a personal message that you describe to you. It was some website I saw. And it's kind of weird that they actually, you're at the level where Hollywood won't hire you anymore. So for $300, I'll give you a personal message in my character's voice or whatever. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. It's just, I feel kind of sorry for them when they're at that point of life.
Yeah, no. Well, I don't know. At the same time, you have people who really appreciate or enjoy that kind of stuff. And so, hey, to each their own. If that's what you enjoy, go with it. All right, let's see. One more test. It's not working for me, you stupid thing.
Denied.
It's sad. I just went even onto another service to do it, and it's being dumb. So,
well, copy posted. I posted that in ShowX Discord. VtWX said test.
Yeah. Oh, well. I tried. I'm still working on it. Anyhow. Boo to that. Let's see. What other stuff do I have in here on links? So I did Lucky's Tale. That was fun. Hopefully you can check that out as well. The other one I did was Moss, which is, to me, one of the most delightful VR games available today. It is one where you play as... Gosh, I've said it before. I've described the game in the past. Almost like the face of the character from Spirited Away of No Face. But this glowing mask is you're considered the reader, and you're reading into this world where these little mice are living their lives, and you're helping the main character, Quill, little female mouse, adventure on and try to rescue her uncle and figure out what's going on with this shard of glass she found that apparently is a focus of great magic in the world, and the people that are perhaps villains in the world would look for and want to have a piece of, and so are chasing after... or looking to chase after find. And it's a great use of VR in the sense that you look around the world and it's absolutely adorable. One, Quill, just as a character, she communicates via American Sign Language. And so if you pay attention, when you're doing something little solid or something, she'll actually thank you and things and be like, and kind of do the proper signing. That I had heard about prior, but the first time I played wasn't realizing it was this game. So now that I'm playing it, I have a mindset to actually keep an eye on her to see whenever she's communicating with me. And we've done a few bigger puzzles where she got very emotive and did this whole sign of, like, congratulations, you did the big thing or something, right? Which is really cool. And I wish I knew more, because then I would understand better. But that was super neat to see. But as well as the detail in the landscape is just amazing. So I'll like lean into the VR to really look at the models and look at how it's set up. It's just gorgeous. And you're in this world where humans exist as well, because you run through some areas where it looks like a major battle has happened in the past. And so you're walking through like the chest plate of something that has a sword pierced through it. Very much looks like someone was on the losing end at that point, but it's like this rusted in thing that the path that your character goes through and leads to this underground kind of temple for the mice exists and such. It's just really neat how it plays in. And in some parts of it I'd seen where there's birds or like deer and stuff in the background that you look and they're in the background, but they're appropriate size and everything. So it's really, really neat, really pretty. So I played some of that. Really adorable game. It was one that I think I had to sneak my way to get to because Copy was watching and I was mentioning, should I play Fox or should I play something else? And it was something where they're like, but you're playing Fox. And so Foxes. But bringing in Moss, I think Copy was quite happy to see Quill running around as well. And so it was a pretty game. Let's see, what else? I teased myself. So the other day when I was out, I was having lunch with a friend of mine, and on the way back, I stopped by Mike's Camera, and this is one that I think Kuro will appreciate. And I may or may not have looked at the new Sony A7R4. Their brand new high-resolution mirrorless camera they've just released. Because as my camera was down, my original Canon was dead, I kept looking at opportunities to maybe get something new if I really needed to shoot this wedding and such, but I held off, thinking maybe it wouldn't be the best idea to get a brand new system before shooting a wedding. I need to be comfortable with my equipment. But I did decide I should go and at least put one in my hands and see what it felt like. Man, that is a pretty bit of machinery. And it's odd though, Tabby, because it doesn't feel natural in my hand. I'm so used to Canon that the grip and everything, I've had Canon for almost 2 decades now that I've shot. And so it's very much second nature for how those cameras feel, where this one, the grip's a little different, the controls are in different places. And so it just felt a little different. I had to actually throw the battery grip on it before it felt a little more normal. But when I put it all in there and I started shooting with it,
it's a much slimmer design, isn't it?
It's much more compact in the actual body itself. Although it is still about the same, not quite, still lighter, but a similar heft to it. But what's weird is because for me, the grip is a little shorter, tall-wise, than what I'm used to with my Canon. So my pinky just didn't rest naturally on the grip. And so it felt like I had to either put it under the camera to make it so my other 3 fingers actually felt good with the trigger and everything. Or when I put the battery grip on it, the extended one, it kind of sat in there, but it still didn't feel like it was in the natural position. It actually felt a little better for me when I shot sideways with the battery grip than it did the normal direction. So there's a challenge ergonomically for me with it, but spec-wise and performance, whoa. Because my camera right now shoots at something like 7 or 8 frames per second, and it shoots basically 20 megapixel. And this thing specs out at 10 frames per second bursts, as well as it's shooting 61.2 megapixels.
Holy smoke! 3 times the pixel rate? Wow.
Yes.
That's some detail.
It is, and with that, they have 2, it's got a lot of the modern conveniences that my camera I got before they came out with. So it has 2 cards to shoot on. It has... it's got a full 4K sensor for video and such. It's got dual stereo microphones coming into it, it's got stereo microphones. It's got what other kind of things? It's got built-in Wi-Fi, so it can do wireless triggering to the matching flashes and things like that without having to get an external one. It's got Wi-Fi. All of those kind of features in it. And so just connectivity and things like that are beautiful. And the big thing that these mirrorless have that you don't get with traditional cameras is the autofocus on it. It's able to do live autofocus while you're watching a scene and while you're recording, while you're shooting, where it can continuously track a subject. And Sony is famous for having the best eye tracking in the industry right now. Like, out of any company. And so they show where, and I finally got to see it because I was just kind of playing within the thing, and then another sales associate with someone else came in and started down the, edge for me, and I had, I think, the 7200 lens on, and I started looking forward at it, and I could see finally the box kick in, and start I see an eye, right? I see an eye, I see the face, I see that, and I was just like, whoa. I started messing around with how fast I could zoom and pull out, and it just kept focused like nobody's business. And that's one of the things that I think is most exciting for me and why I would love to somehow have, as I've priced out what it would cost to buy all of that together, to have the basically $7,000 I would need to change over, because it was just crisp and fast, gorgeous looking. I would love to bring that into my workflow. So anyhow, I teased myself. Like, I can't. No, really, I can't. Because even at the base level, the body is like $3,600, which I could justify maybe. But then I'd have to get glass, and I could get an adapter for another several $100 that would allow me to use my Canon glass. But and so when I looked at it with the battery grip, the 72 to 200, and the body, it was basically $7,000 out the door. I was just like.
Artists have the same feel. As I said, at the Comic-Con, you hit those booths and you're playing with the big toys, you're just going, oh, I totally can do this. I totally can do it. This is perfect. It's like, is this overkill? No. It's never overkill. Come on.
Well, and I had the joke with even the gentleman that was helping me out as a whole, where he was saying like, oh yeah, just this and that. I was like, well, I know it's never about like need. Needing something's easy. It's that want that gets me in trouble.
Like, we know the difference. Come on. Do I need more games on Steam? No. Do I want them? Yes, but that works well. That's justified for me.
Yes, and that's where I'm at. Basically, is like, I want so bad. So I'm holding off. I've backed up, and I will worry about that another time. So, not my concern at the moment. So
at another time in Show X will be next week.
Ha!
Just clarify that. So.
Well, it's one of those that, man, if it is something where if I could, I don't know, if I was shooting more, I think, then maybe I could justify it. Like if I had more time in with what I'm actually doing right now, that could work. But
if you own it, you would shoot more. Isn't that the logic behind it?
Call it logic. Call it an excuse.
I'm the worst person to have on the shoulder because I'm a total pusher. I'm like, oh yeah, of course, get the technology.
Yeah, you can do that. No big deal. No, so yeah, I would love to, but I cannot justify. All right, testing this again. Come on, you piece of nonsense! I swear, this thing is ticking me off when it comes to chat window. How hard is it to get a chat in my thing?
I don't know. Is the NSA guys listening in? Can someone help us with that?
Yes, where's my actual help, which is not me. But anyhow, that's so annoying. Anyhow, I see I tried here, it's now a white box. I tried typing something, nothing came in. It's annoying. All right, so that is, I think, pretty much all I did. Did I have one other thing on there? I had Moss, da-da-da. Oh, as a transition, since this is Geek, and then we'll get into you. Is anyone else excited for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020?
I dinked with the previous version. I actually enjoyed it a lot. It's beautiful. I like flight games now that I have a monitor that can run those. But the 2020 I heard is pulling the VR aspect and really blending a VR version of it that is, I'm told, out of this world. They tested it in where was it? Over in New York.
So they
one of the Comic-Cons on the East Coast.
One of the things they recently did is they just had an event out in basically your neck of the woods, out in Portland, I believe. They just had an event where Microsoft brought a whole bunch of people in the industry, basically, or people who have been playing and doing stuff out there. And in doing so, they gave them a preview, and they got to take them through this whole showing of what's been going on with it. And so sharing on there some of the video that's come out of it. But they were talking about some of the people I've been listening to and these reviews, which is where I said I'm getting excited, is that they've fixed some of the things I've always wanted, the big one being texture as a whole. Mm-hmm. And so what they've done is they've actually gotten it now where they are streaming from their site somewhere, what was it, like they have 2 petabytes of texture data. And what they're doing is, because nobody's computer has enough storage to bring in all that texture data to your desktop, they're live streaming it to the game. And so they have both a lower resolution model that you can kind of keep cached for if you play offline. But if you're connected as you're flying around anywhere, it can stream into this high resolution data they've done, as well as they've done things where they've taken photogrammetry from all over the world, all that data of everyone's buildings and such. And so where most cases they have accurate representations of cities down to the individual buildings. And
Google already supplies a majority of that information already on them, which I think they did a partnership to get some of that into this game.
Well, and they've been doing that with a bunch, but what's crazy is it's how, to the depth they're doing now. It's because I've played all the previous flight simulators, loved them all. And you could get texture packs in there or other people's mods where they'd bring in whole airports, certain cities, things like that, and they would be really pretty. But there was always just kind of a limit, and most of them felt fairly flat. Like from above, when you're flying at 15, 10,000 or higher feet, look gorgeous, right? And some of the main buildings and downtown, stuff like that. But as you got closer, it started falling apart, and you see how flat some of the things are, and how some things were textures but no actual 3D models, things like that. And especially when it came to like trees and such, they just would like put a whole swath of like generic trees across whole mountainscapes, stuff like that. They're using AI technology to interpret trees and such to actually give you a much more realistic level of the kind of trees everywhere and such, where people who talked about they were staying in Portland or something and they were at a hotel right next to it, so they got to fly from that virtually the same place. And as they did, he circled around and found his hotel. And it was just like, dang, it is right there and it looks great. And they talked about all these other physics things they put into the game, where they're actually dealing with uneven flat surfaces or stuff like that on runways. They're actually modeling the texture and the resistance of your tires and things like that hitting. They're doing this massive overhaul with weather where it's doing like 60 layers of simulation of weather height and of it like 30 so or such with clouds and things like that. All of these kind of crazy things that I know most people aren't big sim nuts like that I maybe am. But the ways these guys are talking about it, I cannot wait for this game to hit. The sim, this whatever to hit. Because they're talking about just the way the lighting works, that all the visualizations are as close to you being in something as possible. Every single switch and dial in every cockpit of every plane is going to be touchable and work and do what it's supposed to do. They're going to try to do things where you can do either fully automated startup procedures or assisted startup procedures and things like that, where they even have one where you can do it totally manually, or they can highlight each of the buttons in order that you'd have to do for a sequence. So you still have to click the buttons, but it's kind of guiding you down the checklist of the things, because that's always been something that I've wanted to learn. Because that's just, when it comes to actually flying and doing that kind of stuff, that seems like a lot of work. And so I usually just go start and go do silly things and fly. But it's also the level of realism that they're potentially going to show here just blows my mind. One of the guys was talking about just setting his plane on cruise at a certain level above the clouds, just looking out the window and saying that he was getting such photorealistic views, he could just take screenshots for days out of it. And so...
Now, just on photo. Now realize the big thing to get on this is if you're looking at like the video here is you see there's cars and there's movement down on the ground. This is pushing the AI way beyond that we've seen in most other games.
Yes. No, I am so excited for this. Just I'm a silly sim nut. I want things to be as powerful as they can. And so it's interesting because Kuros, you're talking about other people like that. I don't believe they're actually taking advantage of ray tracing at all in this, that they're doing it all through their own kind of proprietary engine of how they're modeling the light and things like that, because they do talk about accurately modeling the light. They're talking about accurately modeling weather systems and such, and like the height of the sun at different times of year. So it's not always going to be the straight same location in the sky. It changes with time of year. So the swings of the earth and things like that. They're talking about how weather patterns rotate in and change. Some of the nighttime scenes and stuff like that just look phenomenal. So I don't know about anyone else. Maybe I'm the only one who loves sims like this, but gosh, I cannot wait. It's going to be so pretty. So pretty. Anyhow. So yeah, I saw that just actually this morning and was kind of like starting to geek out over it and thinking of whether anyone else would care, but I'm totally into it. I want it so bad. And heaven forbid they add this to VR as well. Done. Like you said, when they're practicing with those things, I'm now sitting in the full cockpit. Done.
Yes.
Like
VR is the big push for this one, and you mix VR with this kind of level of technology. One, I like the idea of them giving the ability for people with powerful machines to push the machine to a limit, to see where it can go. And they're giving us that option, and I love that. Give us the option to see what we can do with it.
It's going to push things so far, because I've always done the thing where I came back to previous flight simulators and modded the crap out of them once my system was powerful enough to get all the texture packs and other planes, things like that. This one, it's like they grabbed everything that anyone had ever done and said, let's do it this way. And this isn't even talking about the physics model and how advanced that's getting, where they're doing this crazy, like, accurate simulation of all the surfaces on the wings and stuff of the plane, so that you can actually, they talked about being able to, because of the way the weather's providing and how they're modeling the atmospherics, that you could actually have part of a wing stall out because it loses some surface and some of the wind coming across it compared to another, and get truly realistic interactions with it geeks me out in a way that isn't like, I don't know, it's bad. I'm just so looking forward to this. So I did link in there the video I'm watching. It's I understand maybe no one else is feeling this way as I am. Hey, look, the needle. But I am so looking forward to this. So, all right. Anyhow, that is all I've got for Geek. Do you feel like you need to break it all, sir, or would you like to jump into stuff that you've been doing?
My stuff has been pretty limited with working the artist thing. We are with the indie podcast. We're finishing up the last 10 shows for the top 100 comedies of all time, brought to you by the BBC.
Nice.
I just watched with my daughter Groundhog Day. She's never seen that.
It is always surprising to me when I find, especially what I consider old classics, shows and movies and stuff that people have not seen. I'm just like, what?
Yeah, so I'm excited to watch that. We watched Airplane together, and then we have like Annie Hall coming up that we have to watch. Doctor Strangelove. Right now downstairs is This Is Spinal Tap, which I got to watch this afternoon again.
Nice.
So yeah, but we're 10 shows away. We've done the whole 100 series we got, and then we have to rethink what do we do next. Oh, that's the next choice. So that's been my push in there. What games I've been playing is I got back into Starbound.
Oh, nice.
Again, one of those games. I started it up. I'm like, oh, I forgot this is kind of fun. What do I do? Oh man, I don't remember what I'm supposed to be doing. The game's totally different from the last time I played it.
Well, yeah, so it's the challenge there. I was going to say, working adult mode would help, but in a situation like that, especially because massive updates, because it's been a while since I'd played, and I jumped onto it, a couple months ago, just real quick. Whole different experience from that intro like sequence where you're escaping the burning or breaking down academy or whatever you're part of before initially jumping into the world. Nice tutorial, nice introduction to things that you didn't have before, but has completely changed that initial into the game. And it seems like there's so much more to do.
So that makes it fun. I like to jump into that one. Another one I have problems with, jumped into is Banished. Jumped in there, looked at my little town. What was I doing?
Yeah,
oh, man.
Yep.
So those are games I've been trying to play a little bit more of, going back to the classics. I was in Classic WoW for a while. I'm kind of backed down a little bit from it. I'm sure, I don't know if that's one of the stories you got coming up here, the whole scenario with Blizzard. Yeah, he does. I figured that's going to be our topic today. So I've been backed off in that a little bit. We'll get into that. But we can go and take a quick refresher. I do need some more tea, because my choice of beverage for the Show X podcast is sweet tea, made especially by yourself.
Oh, that's good. I appreciate that. I say mine today is a blend of a Irish style cream liqueur along with milk, essentially, as I wanted something light on the throat that I could continue talking, as I initially figured I would be doing this for 2 hours on my own. And so I wanted something to help lubricate the vocal cords, as you will. But with that, let me grab something a little old, and since I mentioned it earlier, for copy. For the break, we'll play always from OC Remix, because we can play those legally. This is going to be a Phantasy Star Regol Weather OC Remix from Zircon during the break. And so we'll be back in about 3.5 minutes. You're listening to ShowX on VtWProductions.com, and we'll be back right after this.
Send in your emails to showx at VtWProductions.com. listening to ShowX on VtWProductions.com.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the show. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. Slowly learning all the buttons and things as I keep trying to add things to the show. In real time. Why not? All right, so as we come back, it is time for us to talk a little bit more.
Technology, news, and more today on the Geekoscope.
Because there are things to talk about. Yeah. All right, so where did I want to start? Let's see. This article, I think, looks good. So, for those who aren't aware, and Tabby, maybe you could bring up in general some of the things that have been happening recently in the world of gaming, specifically with Blizzard, a company that many of us are very aware of.
Oh, man, I need to get Bryson up here because he's really into it. But the lowdown into it is during the big national championships for Hearthstone going on in Korea, one of the Hong Kong natives who is a grand champion, who's been a past grand champion, the guy's really good. I've actually seen him play. He actually, after a winning bout, during an interview, he just happened to say a pro-Hong Kong statement. Now, if anyone hasn't been hiding underneath a rock, Hong Kong's in the mass upheaval of change because after so many years since after the British gave the colony back to China, China allowed them to rule pretty much independently for a while. Well, that time frame has now come to an end, and now they're actually asserting their rule over Hong Kong and the way things are done much more aggressively, and to the point where a lot of freedoms are getting crushed. And there's actually been a lot of upheaval, and I've known a lot of people here in Portland who has family ties in Hong Kong through my business, and I'm hearing firsthand of what's going on there, and the news is not even touching it. So this guy, again, a native Hong Kong, just happened to make the comment about a pro-Hong Kong choice. That did not sit well with China. And to the point, China decided to go after Blizzard, and it went really quick, mind you. Well, the time frame after he made the comment to the point where they had to take action was within hours. So Blizzard decided to, and of course they weren't hinting at it at first, decided to go ahead and ban the guy. So he loses all his winnings. Which
it's the twofold, right? They did the ban him from playing again for a year, the initial reaction, and taking away all his tournament winnings, which you were saying how much?
Oh gosh, I think it was like $300,000 or $400,000 US, which is an incredible amount of money on top of other things he was getting on top of that. It loses everything for this comment. So it comes down to the word is China basically was the one that helped Blizzard put the squash on it. Now, I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate. I don't blame Blizzard for the actions they took because they had legal right to take them. Because they put a nice little clause in there that gave them a big blanket. Hey, if you pretty much piss anything off on us, we can go ahead and ban you. And that's the simplified version of what it is.
Yeah, it's like exactly like most of those tournaments, most broadcasts, things like that. Even broadcast stations like us here on Twitch right now have their clauses for how people are allowed to conduct themselves when on it. But now the challenge is, it seemed like such a minimal thing, right, for him to do. Simply as he's being interviewed to kind of come up and say, basically pro Hong Kong. And jumped out, and just to have that kind of reaction, a lot of people responded thinking that's kind of garbage or that's awfully severe for a single comment like that. So, in the time since, because it's been, a week and a half now, 2 weeks or so since it first happened, about a week?
About a week and a half, yeah.
Yeah,
South Park even got an episode already in there for it. So.
Well, and there's been a combination of things. So those who aren't following it from the more tech gaming side, we've had other news recently about China and Hong Kong, specifically with the NBA. And so there's other aspects that are happening as well. But from the gaming perspective, one of the articles I brought up, and I have a few here from Kotaku kind of talking some of the levels of it, because I'm very curious to know what everyone who's listening, your thoughts on this situation. Feel free to hit us up in the chat as it goes, and we'll respond and go with that, or email in if you want as well. But the article I have is saying that protests are coming to BlizzCon in the wake of Blizzard's Hong Kong fiasco. And so...
Yep.
This one comes in...
In fact, last week, their workers walked out. They had several workers walk out at the Blizzard offices.
Yeah, this has created a huge thing that's been going on. And being gamers, it's interesting to see the kind of back and forth. So this one, it says, multiple groups are in the process of organizing protests set to take place outside BlizzCon, the annual convention held by game developer Blizzard, in response to its suspension of Hearthstone player for expressing support for Hong Kong during a live event. It says that a group, Fight for the Future, launched a website and Discord to kick off its organization efforts as a, quote, protest BlizzCon subreddit, and it's gaining serious steam. Let's see. Taking a look at the internet right now, it's pretty apparent that people aren't happy with Blizzard after it suspended Blizchung, and I can't say the last name, and stripped him of prize winnings at the Asian Pacific Grandmaster for wearing a mask and saying, quote, liberate Hong Kong, revolution of our age. So that's his quote of what he stated. Now, in recent news from this, so it'll be interesting to see what actually happens, because BlizzCon's happening at the end of this month. If I'm not mistaken, it's right as we're going into the next month, right after Halloween.
November
1st,
2nd, 3rd?
second, third. Yeah, well, so first Friday, but BlizzCon, I keep having to remind myself, is only a 2-day convention that costs more than every other convention out there. So those people that go, I mean, enjoy yourselves, those who love Blizzard, but anyhow, it'd actually be more interesting, I think, to see if people like didn't go to BlizzCon or something like that, protested that way. Right now, one of the big things is a lot of people have been reacting in the sense of deactivating accounts on Blizzard and not playing certain games and getting rid of subscriptions and things like that as signs of saying maybe that not the best decision. Because I know personally I've heard both sides, and I'm curious what you've heard, Tabby, that people have said, like, keep politics out of gaming, that I don't want to hear. It's much like what I think the response from I hear people saying about anyone who's got a platform of being an entertainer or something like that, expressing their political views or their thoughts on situations. How I often hear people who tend to disagree with them say things like, oh, celebrities or entertainers or something shouldn't be in politics. I don't want to hear their nonsense. That kind of thing, right? To other side saying, like, this is a legitimate issue that we want to make more people aware of, and therefore we want people to understand and hear, and we have a platform to express that and therefore share our thoughts on it. Whatever your opinion of that may be. But the reaction from this has seemed to be, for me, almost, I haven't heard anyone really saying they support Blizzard's decision. And that would be like a rough, just my take of what I've seen swirling around the internet. How about yourself?
Again, I support the decision on the fact is they were allowed to make the decision.
Legally, yes. Their choice. Legally, they're totally on board with what they did.
Yep. Whether it was right or not takes a totally different turn, and I think you're right. That, again, instead of a slap on the hand, they totally just went overboard with the reaction, and everyone knows it's the pressure from the Chinese government, who's also done other things like this to force American companies to look their way positively. I just posted a link in the chat room from Control Delete hilarious. On Friday. The smashing of Blizzard's spine. Now, to add insult to injury, you realize the statue they have in front of their main campus, I believe, has the terminology of all voices shall be heard.
Yep.
And so they're not even looking at the statue in front of their main offices to realize what they're doing here is wrong. They can still take a stance on this, yet not banning this guy out of the tournament play, because he got there because of his skill set and how well he played, and he should be rewarded for that. Maybe a slap on the hand, maybe a small fine, or even, hey, you do it again, we're gonna have to be a little more stern about it. I just go to the point where they did with this to squash it, to try to make this whole Hong Kong thing. It's a big thing. I mean, it's a revolutionary down there for what's going on in the world today. And honestly, Americans need to see that. They need to realize this kind of squashing does happen by national governments. We are not bad, folks. You go across the sea.
Oh my gosh, yes.
China. My nephew was there, and for him to even connect to the internet, and the things he had to sign to allow an internet connection in China are virtually going to put you in prison for life.
They're talking even going further with that now, because they just saw a story come out saying that China's looking at putting in biometrics where in order to connect to the internet, you have to provide facial, you have to get a photo of yourself every time to access the internet. So they can tie directly as who it is and what they're doing at all times. That is beyond totalitarian, right? That is not even Big Brother. That's straight up they are controlling your access to everything and will react to anything you do. That is scary in my mind. And so it is.
People don't see that.
Yeah, it's important for the world to know, to be able to be aware of this, to kind of be more awakened to all the things of how the rest of the world interacts. I always tell people, as much as you may have concerns for how a lot of our countries, and I say it to most of our audience, being the U.S., Australia, Canada, the UK, kind of all of those places that I know we have people who watch our show from, all of our shows, that, we are lucky. We are in countries that allow us a significant amount of freedom. There's some things we may disagree with, and we struggle politically and understand in interaction with different people. But compared to a good portion of the rest of the world, we doing all right. Just so you're aware, a lot of places you could go and actually revert in history from here a good 50 to 100 years when it comes to the rights and freedoms you have. So I always tell people to be careful when they say things as flippant as that they just can't stand this one thing, so they're going to exit stage right and go somewhere else. Because I'm trying to tell them, like, good luck. You think things are better elsewhere, but really get into it and really look at it before you think that's the case. Come back, and tell me when you find out how things really work. It's
this is beyond political. This is gamer. This is a gamer issue. This is where gamers need, just like the whole our net issues here in the United States. Gamers need to step up and defend other gamers. And Hong Kong is a huge area of gamers, and they need the assistance or even the recognition of the struggles they're about to go into if China clamps down onto them. Because all that is squashed. And we have a lot of good streamers that come out of Hong Kong. We have a lot of good, just good people, and they're going to be losing those freedoms if something isn't done. Granted, can we do anything? Well, honestly, we can't.
Well, you say that, but I think
this
is examples of how we can. And you're right, to Blizzard, but as a proxy, right? Because essentially, Blizzard is reacting to the fact that China is a massive market, right? They have billions of people, and they have more and more people getting online and doing things all the time. And we've run into this in the past of how China is trying to tell all technology companies to act certain ways to be able to be in their market. Everything from censorship through things like Google searches and stuff like that have happened in the past, to now the interaction of just anybody expressing an opinion about the situation in China, even though they're not people who live in China. That's the scary part, because now we're seeing China reach out elsewhere because they're trying to control the media such to a degree that they don't even want people talking about the negative things happening in there that aren't Chinese. That's what's scary, because they're pressuring other countries and companies that are not housed in their shores to do things to basically limit the information that their people have and to make it so the world's blind. So Blizzard, who basically reacted very harshly initially, and we can only assume through pressure from Chinese market, did finally respond to it. And so another article from Kotaku saying, after a week of controversy surrounding its decision to boot Hearthstone pro Blizchung from a tournament and suspend him for a year for delivering a pro-Hong Kong message, Blizzard has finally made a statement about the situation. It plans to allow Blizchung to collect his prize money after all and reduce his suspension. In the statement, Blizzard's president, J. Allen Brack, explained that while Blizzard tries to uphold company values that focus on diversity and global thinking, it also wants to keep esports events focused on games. Blizchung broke a rule, but Brack insists that the specific words he said weren't the issue. The quote is, "The specific views expressed by Blitzchung were not a factor in the decision we made. I want to be clear, our relationships in China had no influence on our decision. We have these rules to keep the focus on the game and on the tournament to the benefit of a global audience, and that was the only consideration in the actions we took. If this had been the opposing viewpoint delivered in the same divisive and deliberate way, we would have felt and acted the same." He went on to say that Blitzchung did not break any rules while playing the actual game, so he'll collect his prize money after all. However, he'll still be suspended. Now, though, the suspension is 6 months instead of a year. And so it continues on basically saying that it is important that he receive the money because he did do the actual work as a player. And so they did accept that, right? And so give them, I don't know if I want to say credit. It is interesting because that's, you chuckled when I mentioned his comment about how it had nothing to do with the message. What are your thoughts on that?
It is a joke because, again, from a business standpoint, I don't blame them on that aspect. You're looking at billions of dollars in the Chinese market. And I understand that in a business sense, you have to look at where the investment of where you're going to go. Moral values are out the window of that aspect because honestly, you're a business. Profit is your goal here. And for Blizzard to go that route. Now, there is a way they can take a step back from that and realize focus their markets on the world that does accept them and does treat their players well. And they could take that hit, but still make a lot of money. And I didn't hear about this news, so I'm glad they went this route. I'm glad they gave him the money and they reduced the suspension, which I think that might actually make him eligible for the next tournament if he gets back in time for the different playoffs. That's good. And that's a good start. Now, whether China's going to be happy or not, that's up to them. But you realize you're already scrubbed in China, most likely.
It'll be very Like I believe I don't think I've seen a single viewer from China that I'm aware of, and so oh no, it just means I better be
downloads from them, but
I have to be aware of, I guess, if I ever travel that way, whether I get marked as a dissenting journalist or something about the country, and therefore they wouldn't let me in or get imprisoned for bringing the wrong technology across or something, or who knows.
Trust me, they search you pretty thoroughly when you get to those airports, especially if you're coming from a country that might have dissenting points of views on them. Especially in America now, since we have a trade war, it's kind of going stallman. Actually, no, it's positive now. As of Friday, but
ask anyone in Australia how they feel about the trade war. Yeah. I hear constantly how it's destroying their economy, how I think Australia and Canada are rushing for who's their equivalent dollar, what its worth or value is compared to other currencies. Because I think it's cheaper for me to go to Australia right now and hang around and do stuff than it is Canada, oddly enough. And so, they have some very strong views about the trade war. Anyhow, continuing on, we actually have a response that Nigwai, if I can say that correctly, but Blizchung came out with. And so this one coming from IGN continues the story, saying that Chung came in and said, quote, "For tournament prizing, I quoted what Blizzard said on the official site. They mentioned that I played fair in the tournament and they believe I should receive my winnings. This is the part I really appreciate. Blizzard also said they understand for some this is not about the prize, but perhaps for others it is disrespectful to even discuss it. People from Blizzard had explained this to me through a phone call, and I really appreciate that, and I accept their decision on this part." So that is his official response to Blizzard for what had happened. And then he continued on saying, "To be honest, I think 6 months is still quite a lot of time, but I also being told that I can continue to compete in the Hearthstone Pro Circuit, which they mean the Grandmaster Tournament. I appreciate for this decision they made because Grandmaster is currently the highest level tournament in competitive Hearthstone. However, I wish Blizzard can reconsider about their penalty on the two casters involved." Because that was another piece, right? While he was on and when he was doing the piece that he did, the two broadcasters that were interviewing him when that came up, I believe got fired, like right away from it. That the people in the tournament that were actually casting it that were there when he made his point. And so, I know that they did take action against the two casters that were on while he was doing the interview, which is kind of one of those, what are you going to do, right? When someone just kind of comes up and says something, that seems a bit much to me, right?
A little bit hard. I mean, like Sakura just pointed out was really cool because the South Park, who also made a comment about China, all their episodes for the last couple seasons were scrubbed from all their databases, so you can't get it in China at all.
Oh yeah,
it's hard. It's hard for Blizzard. It's going to be a very fine line. I'm glad the direction it took. Whether it's going to help them a lot because they saw like a 5% decline in subscriptions, we'll see in the future. And we'll definitely see at BlizzCon. But we're not seeing. They're going to have to tread a very fine line on how they're going to track this for the next several months because it's a story that's not going to drop. It's not going to go away. And they're going to have to answer to that action down the line. So good luck to them on it. It's more than I would want to deal with.
Interesting. And Hando's saying that there's some language out there saying that the announcers actually put up Chung to say what he did while on the show. So that's potentially why they were fired. If that's true, then that could have some legitimacy behind it. And if not, then I'd be concerned for why action was taken. Now, as fallout from this we're seeing, because there's multiple places where this Chinese influence we're seeing in real life right now. And still amongst gaming, another one that came out that's not specific to this, but more of, I would say, a reiteration of what they consider the rules to already be. From Kotaku, they say another article saying Riot, the people behind League of Legends, says they forbid League players and commentators from discussing politics on air. And so it says in a statement on Twitter, the League of Legends developer and publisher said that pro players and commentators have been told to keep their political thoughts to themselves during official broadcasts. Quote, "We serve fans from many different countries and cultures, and we believe this opportunity comes with a responsibility to keep personal views on sensitive issues, meaning politics, religion, and otherwise, separate." They said these topics are often incredibly nuanced, requiring deep understanding and a willingness to listen, and cannot be fairly represented in the forum our broadcast provides. Therefore, we have reminded our casters and pro players to refrain from discussing any of these topics on air. And it's something that they go and say that they've had this for some time, right? And so they're trying to say that it's not specifically because of anything China has said, but that they're just reiterating that they want to make sure, as across the board, that people understand the rules. In a way, I can respect that response a lot.
Yeah.
Because it is obviously that this came up because of what happened in China and because of what happened with Blizzard. But at the same time, they're trying to do it from just they're trying to get, I think, ahead of anything. To say, like, hey, know that this is our stance before you do anything dumb. So be aware. But as we talk now, we'll focus a little bit outside of the gaming side of things, or at least our computer side. We talk about like the NBA's response, because I don't know all the details specific to what was stated in the NBA thing, but I have seen some of the fallout from it, because essentially it was one of the coaches or someone said something, and China came back and said, we are canceling all of our broadcasts of all pregame NBA anything, which apparently is a huge market that they've been showing, and they've really been supporters of basketball in America. What I've seen since then, though, is specifically some people at a game that was being broadcast were wearing shirts that said "Free China" or "Free Hong Kong," and were asked to leave the game because they were wearing those at a American basketball game. And that's one where I'm starting to get a little more not cool with when we talk about free speech and things like that, and that not being in any way I can understand like hate speech or something like that. I mean, because I don't believe something I would try to equate in some kind of similarity. If somebody came to a game wearing a pro or anti-presidential candidate shirt or something like that, that they would be removed from the game for showing a political view on their shirt. I don't believe that has ever happened, would happen. And so the idea that, like, I think it was like 3 or 4 people were removed from a game for wearing a shirt that said "Free Hong Kong."
Yep.
That bothers me.
Yeah, the political separation with business, again, it's their right to do what they do, but it's our right to go, fine, you don't get my attention, you don't get my dollar. And
yes.
It needs to be publicized in that aspect of it. They want to push the envelopes for this to get better markets, fine, but there are consequences for your actions when you make those decisions. And the gaming companies have been dealing with this by their actions of what they choose. EA, we decide to make decisions that totally mess us all up. We turn around, we stop buying their products, and they feel the pinch from it.
Yep.
The NBA needs to feel the same pinch.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because I know when it comes, and now we talk back about the gaming side, the responses have been, from Blizzard specifically, there's been a lot of people who've canceled accounts. I know I've heard a lot of chatter of people who have ended their WoW subscriptions, because that's one of the few things you pay monthly, right, for any of their games versus just playing them.
Yep.
And so I know a lot of people who did that. It's funny because I may or may not. No, I suspended my upcoming payment because I have paid all year for WoW and haven't really played it anyways.
Yep.
But when I did sign out and they said, "Why are you leaving?" I mentioned it. I said, I think it's kind of crappy the way you guys did this and stuff. Not that it was necessarily my primary driver, but I threw it in there as something. But I have seen a lot of people who are making it as their primary driver for why they don't want to keep paying Blizzard monthly subscriptions and such. Yep. And so, yeah, I mean, people are now talking with their dollar. And it'll be curious to see what that does long term as we go. So,
as Copy pointed out, it becomes damage controlling their own damage control. Nice.
No, it is. And it's, I'm happy that one of the advantages, I guess, to being a globally connected internet community and those of us who all play online and can communicate and see what's happening, that we can all react at the same time in something like this, right? We can all get together and say, that's garbage together and get it out to the world. And so that's kind of nice. And so now you have companies having to react directly. It's not quiet, right? And we're seeing the results. All right. On to something lighter, other technology news and such like that. But no, I wasn't sure if everyone else out there was tracking. I figure a lot of you have probably heard some things about it. And so we wanted to make sure we definitely covered it here. Because I think they did too much. I am appreciative that they walked back a little. I understand people's reactions and support those who want to talk with their dollar. I will always support that. One of the best ways you can be active every day is to be very or have your decisions made about where you spend your money. And so, absolutely. All right. And Copy comes in there saying, I have a necklace with a maple leaf pendant on it. No one has ever been offended that I like Canada. Are you kidding? That's why Americans will travel to other countries wearing Canadian flags to try to pretend we're Canadian so that people like us more. All right. Article I have coming in, and this one is talking about something I hadn't heard anything about, and so I was kind of curious. It's coming from Kotaku saying, soon Steam will let you play local multiplayer games online. And just for the title alone,
I missed that.
Right? I randomly ran into it as I was going through. So the article comes in saying, sometimes you'd rather stretch out on the living room couch in your underwear than deal with and then be the deli meat in a couch co-op sandwich. Valve today, and so this is back on, when did this get announced? It's recent. So this was Thursday. They said they have shared its plan to make Steam's local multiplayer games playable online. So, from now on, you won't have to elbow your way into someone's personal space when you're already screaming at your teammates for dropping the pasta in Overcooked 2. So what they announced is a feature called Remote Play Together, to developers who then shared the news with the public. Its beta is launching around October 21st, and what it says is any game that offers local multiplayer, including split screen and local co-op play, will be able to plug in an online player 2 using a Steam overlay. When the friend accepts an invitation to play, it's as though they're playing side by side at the same machine. Much like a traditional split-screen experience, the host's computer is running the game, but with Remote Play Together, friends can join using their own controller's voice, audio, and display, regardless of whether they also own the game on Steam.
Now, there is where the benefit to that is.
Right?
Wow, we had that back in the day of X-Wing versus TIE Fighter was one of the first games you could do that. It was you could dial into it. The other person didn't need to own the game, but they can dial right in and play it.
Yep. Oh, man.
We've been asking for that for dozens of years.
Yeah, they say that up to 4 players will be able to play the game with each other with Remote Play Together. Valve says it renders 60 frames per second at a resolution of 1080p too, if your internet's good enough. This is phenomenal. This goes back to, and something I've been dying for forever. I remember that with the original StarCraft and Warcraft 2 and stuff like that, where on the PC you could have one game key and play with up to X many other people, whoever could get onto that game mode, because that was one of the true LAN party games we had. You couldn't play the campaign if you didn't have the disc, but you could pull that disc, and we did it all the time. You take one official disc and have you host it, the one who had the key, and then everyone else would just do an install onto theirs of just the multiplayer client. And then you could all play together at a LAN party. It was phenomenal. And it meant that you had more and more games that you could play with friends. I love this idea. This gives you an opportunity for me, just as the show we do and the hosting and stuff like that, to be able to do after the show gaming with each other goes up so much further, because now I can jump onto a game that I host and everyone can just jump in and play with and not have to do the purchase themselves. Almost like we were playing with Jackbox and stuff like that. I've seen people do that. You can stream Jackbox, have everybody on their phones because they have the play on this, this room code that you put in, and you get the instance of what you're playing right there, and you only need one person that has the actual game. How amazing is this? How much of a potential game changer for what PC gamers are going to be able to enjoy with each other when it comes to multiplayer? I don't think you can do that on console, can you?
No, you can't, and that's because again, I don't know, maybe Xbox, but I'm not an Xbox player, so I couldn't tell you if you can or not. But again, early days, like I said, we grew up in that kind of environment where all you need was the multiplayer console, and you can play with a key player. That's going to open up a ton of games that can, hey, if there's more to this game, just buy the game. You've already tested it, you feel good about it, you enjoy it. Now I like to play the single player to get a feel of it. But given that multiplayer ability to get other people to play, phenomenal for game days. Because I'm sure the client's tiny.
Oh,
it's just an interface client.
It's basically, yeah, because you already have Steam, right? It's going to be baked into it. And so it's just going to be like when you do remote play right now between different rooms and thing where I can go play on my television what's being played on my computer here and use the controller interface. It works great. So I cannot wait to see. I feel like this goes along the lines of a lot of other things you're seeing with gaming coming out, like Project Stradia and some of the other streaming type service and stuff. But this is just its own level of, in that tiniest way, bringing back that couch co-op. And hopefully, if nothing else, may encourage more game developers to really think about split screen type of, or single screen co-op play. Because now, all those things, like I've been playing with my younger brother, Castle Crashers and stuff like that, right? That is one that easily works in this exact way of playing. Like, how hard would it be to make this one that you could just stream that there? Oh, you don't have it? That's all right. I'm playing. Come play with me. How cool is that? And I would love to see if they keep stats on whether you get people who start playing the game with someone else who then turn around and buy it. Because I think
that
that'll
should be
happen.
a trophy.
Well, but
achievement trophy,
right? Yeah. Right. Shared my gaming life, and so it's something that I just see. It might, in the long run, benefit everybody involved, but if nothing else, just the ability to literally say, "Let's play together. Let's have as friends. Let's all play together tonight." How cool is that? Sorry. Like I said, it flew under my radar. I hadn't heard any other news about it. I haven't heard anyone else talk about it, and so once I read that, I was just like, "Oh, I can't wait. That's awesome." So
Steam, we love you.
They continue to set the bar. Maybe this is, and who knows, maybe this is a reaction to the pressure they're receiving from all the other distribution services out there that are trying to do more. Because what was it? Epic Games came out and made a comment that they will not, they don't care what people do politically on their gaming service and stuff like that. Basically saying like, feel free to do what you will in response to what was happening with the Blizzard stuff. And where I've seen other comments going back, jokes on memes saying things like, thanks, Satan. since people are still not necessarily enthused by the Epic Gaming Store. Anyhow. But yeah, so that was what I saw. All right. Another article I have to bring up. And feel free to break in if you have something other pressing that I've missed that you'd like to share. This one, I think, a little quicker. But in general, from IGN, it was talking about some more information, if you will, about upcoming console life. And it talks about the PS5 versus Xbox Project Scarlett and what they know so far. And so what they have on here, and I'll share the screen so you guys can see as well, is they basically have a little chart coming down showing that what they have for what we know currently about specs and such. And so with it, they're saying both of them should be released next holiday season with unknown prices. They both supposedly will have disk drives. Where on, was it the PS Side 5 or both, they're saying they will support playing of 100 gig optical discs and 4K Blu-ray. Thank you. Although it's funny because the current Xbox One S will play 4K Blu-ray just fine. And so that's something that Sony PS4 actually doesn't currently support. Video output, they both have very similar specs. 4K, 120 hertz, potential for 8K support. They're talking about both will have solid-state drives, although the Xbox is talking about having some kind of next-generation version. Maybe that means they'll have like a NAND drive or something versus a traditional larger SSD. They're both running basically the same hardware when it comes to everything. They're both running AMD Zen 2 chips for CPUs. GPUs, they're both running custom AMD Radeon RDNA Navi chips that are both to be able to support ray tracing, but we'll be curious to see what that means. And we don't currently know what the PlayStation's RAM is, but we're going to see that we know that we're going to have DDR6 RAM on the Xbox. Beyond that
surprises me for Xbox to go to DDR6.
Why do you say that? Just the cost of, or speed, or concerns, or is there something else we should be looking at?
Always trust. They've always trailed behind on their DDR for the RAM, and they're known to do that to themselves. I expected, because I know DDR6 is still fairly new and they're still trying to get it more integrated for cost-wise. And I know the PS5 is going to go to the DDR6. It's just, that's their trend. To see Xbox go, you know what, we've always been criticized about our speed and how we keep trying to make it so much cheaper. To see them to actually post to go, hey, we're already going to go DDR6. We already know that. That's good for them. They're actually going to push the PS5 to actually look at that going, well, we definitely have to go to DDR6. And now it's a question how much DDR6 are going to give them. Because, realize you're pushing more and more in there.
Oh,
you're
gosh,
up these machines. And these things are compact. I mean, they're looking at this, the PS5 is going to be tiny. It's going to be a tiny little box.
It'll be really good.
So,
well, it's funny because looking at those specs, essentially they're mirrors of each other. They look like they're going to be pulling almost the exact same specs coming down the line. So it'll be really interesting to see what differentiates them. What is the highlight of one system versus the other? Because right now, all I'm seeing is it's going to be exclusive titles, and it's going to be their online network kind of support. Their, what's currently Xbox Live and the PlayStation Network, and seeing if there's any way for those to truly differentiate each other.
The next would be the compatibility with PC players. Where PS4 is more compatible with PC co-op play, where the Xbox is like, we still like to be by yourself.
Actually, I thought it was the other way around, because Sony forever said we don't actually want to play with people. Where Microsoft actually started doing stuff with the Microsoft Store, where even they have the bonus of everything you buy on Xbox automatically will play on your PC, and you own the title on both.
That's more recently, yeah.
Yeah, recently.
You see that, but for them to play with, if you're on the Xbox, so for me, War Thunder, good example. If you're on PC, you can be also on the PS4. You can still intercede one another within the game. Their co-play is a lot more broad in the PS4 community than I've seen in the Xbox community, because it took a while for Xbox to really decide to open up, to branch out. This, I think, is going to give us the next generation of co-play. They're going to not only have the great machine, but machines capable to equal what a PC can do.
It'll be interesting to see how they go, because, of course, we all know from the PC Master Race side that we will always have the latest, greatest, and best technology if we're willing to spend for it. But it's going to be curious to see how far they go. The other really questionable thing is what cost will be. Because, right, we continue to hear the argument, and it's funny because launch versus what it ends up as always changes. But where console players tend to always come back and say, oh, but we can buy our whole experience for under $500. And you can't do that on PC comment, right? Where we've proven you can build comparable PCs for basically the same cost. But with PCs, you can go so much further if you choose to. And so it'll be really interesting with the price point, because at this new technology level they're going, and in the past they've always released, like day one, somewhere in the range of $700-800. And then they've tapered down from there, and they may get down lower, but they've always started at that kind of high-end price that gets you way closer to a more capable gaming PC. So I'll be really curious to see. So yeah, it'll be curious. Now Happy Dude, Cup Check. This problem is the show's over in 6 minutes, so having you break in now would truly break the show. But otherwise, we would let you join. But so yeah, though that'll be curious to see what they come up. Just kind of curious. Really be curious about the price point. All right, I have one last article. And so this one coming from PC Gamer, as we're going in kind of a transition. And so this one for the copies of the world. And while we've talked about a lot of Blizzard stuff, here's maybe a positive note of a reason some people may stick around with Blizzard regardless of the things. And that is an article saying World of Warcraft's upcoming races revealed.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
And so this one says adorable foxes and cyborg gnomes. So, just recently, revealed the upcoming Blizzard did the 8.3 update for World of Warcraft Battle of Azeroth. It has an 18-minute video detailing all of the new features players can look forward to when it launches, presumably early next year. But for those new features, one is sure to set the community on fire. The fox-like Volpera are joining the Horde as a playable allied race, while the less exciting Mechagnomes team up with the Alliance. Oh, this is actually... Okay, that news by itself would almost make me re-up beginning of next year because it's a Horde class for foxes. That by itself
Which I'm surprised. Of
right?
all the races, I would not have figured them to go to the Horde side.
Although it sticks to, in a lot of ways, classic Horde versus Alliance issues, the kind of similar thing as the Tauren, in that, the Alliance traditionally being mostly human-based could not see the animalistic-looking Tauren as being something they could align with. There's kind of that initial racial profiling between them, considering them dumb beasts. And so maybe this harkens back to some of that, in that the Volpera are going to be considered like that from the Alliance side and be more accepted by the Horde. So, in a way, and I will say I've always been interested in the lore as a whole, that makes me curious. So let's see. The Volpera have been teasing players since Battle of Azeroth launched last year as one of the new non-playable races added in the expansion. They're the inhabitants of the Voldun zone found on the island of Zandalar. Conversely, the Mechgnomes are natives to Mechagon, a once-lost city where normal gnomes have augmented their bodies with robotic parts. Both of them are the newest allied races, of which there are 8, and have been added since Battle of Azeroth first launched. For the uninitiated, allied races work a little different than normal races because they're not immediately available for new characters. Instead, players have to complete a lengthy grind that involves maxing out an associated faction reputation and completing a quest before they can start a new character and play as an allied race. I didn't actually know that mechanic. I didn't realize that was part of how they do that. Yep. So maybe that would be harder for me anyways, since I don't think I've ever managed any of those grinds. Let's see.
I have. Everyone likes me in the game. My character is well known. All the factions love me, so no problem for me.
Nice. That'll be easier. So that is something, as we get ready to end the show, does that excite you in any way, Tabby, or for those in the chat, the copies of the world? Because I don't know the actual lore behind the Volpera or the Mechgnomes. And so, but I just, anytime I see announcements like that, and admittedly Fox, made me curious.
We'll see how it plays out. I mean, we'll see if any benefits come between the two races, what kind of benefits from there. Whether or not it gets me out of Classic back into regular WoW is a different story. Because, again, there's so many other things coming down the pike. And, again, as much as beautiful WoW is, it might be one of those I'll play for a couple of months, see how it plays, and move on to my next subject. So, again, I like they're trying to push it, especially with a game that's coming near end of life. You would figure after all these years. Without any major graphics upgrade, it's amazing that they're going to push for it. And as long as the numbers are up, that's good. Go for it. I mean, that might start a whole new thing. I'm still more into WoW Classic, kind of remembering the good old days.
Gotcha. No, I can understand that. It's one of those things that, I mean, I appreciated the little bit of Classic I jumped into. I didn't really grind into it like I probably should have. But in a way, just seeing the world as it once was and remembering some of those things you had to do for quests to get certain things tickled the nostalgia, bit back there where it was kind of like, yeah, I remember when this was hard. And so
I walked Thousand Needles again. I walked it. It was great.
Oh gosh. Cause yeah, because I missed so much of Cataclysm and all that, other than I was at BlizzCon when it first was happening. And so then I didn't play after that, and then coming back with Azeroth a little bit, kind of seeing what was happening. Very interesting to see a whole different world. And just everything in there. So it's been something to keep track of. All right. Well, that pretty much closes out everything we've got for the show. Tabby, I appreciate you jumping in and giving me someone to bounce all the stories off of. That always makes it a lot easier than everyone just having to hear my voice all day. But before I let you go, would you please do us a kindness and tell everybody where they can follow you and keep track of the things you do, since you've been part of our VTW family for all of the years. And we want people to understand and know that.
Man, just head over to VtWProductions.com. You're going to find Indeed Podcast, where me and the crew talk about different topics as we're finishing up our 100 comedies of all time out of the BBC. You can also, if you want to check out my artwork from the Inktoberfest going on, you go to DeviantArt Tabaxian, or you can find us on the Facebook. Look for Indeed Podcast.
Awesome. Thank you very much, sir. And everybody, you know where to find us each week as we do this show here on Twitch. And you can check all our archives over on Versus the World video on the YouTube channel. Make sure to follow myself at DocDead on Twitter, and actually Ken has just changed his to Dr. Ken Reed on his Twitter account, so you can follow that as well. And keep track of all the things we do. If you jump on the social media, You can check us out on Facebook on ShowX to see kind of the memes and stuff we post throughout the weeks, as well as the whole VTW community of gamers and nerdery that we do. You can check us out on Twitch at /VtWShowX, so you can catch us, or not, sorry, Twitch, Reddit, where you can catch all the show posts there, as well as any discussions you'd like to follow up with. With that, everybody, thank you for listening to the show this week. Very much appreciate you being here, sir, and we will catch you guys again next week. Please check us out after the show. I'll be in the Discord. Happy to play some games with you guys before we call it a night. And so with that, have a good one, everyone. Bye.
Goodbye. See you next zombie.